Sport OV, OV Real Life Beer. And Priority Courier, the official courier of the CFL.
Set to start for the Calgary kickoff to Michael Clemens or John Field of the Argonauts. The ever-dangerous pinball. Clemens has it. And room on the outside. Nice blocking by the Argos to spring him that way, and he's out near midfield.
Don Matthews wanted to get the ball in Clemens' hands as much as he possibly could, and that's a pretty good way to start the football game, offensively speaking. And you're right, he can hit the smallest gap and make something out of it.
John Congemi's second start in place of the injured Matt Dunnigan, and he'd be happy to have the success he enjoyed against the Ottawa Rough Riders last weekend, especially happy if it turned into another win. They are in the ninja offense, which features offensive linemen flanked out to the left, and they throw a pass to Clemens. The Stampeders want to call in a lateral and a fumble recovery, and that's what they are calling it. Pass thrown behind the line of scrimmage, but whether it was thrown behind Congemi, I'm not sure. The ruling is that it was.
A play designed to really have that play formed before the snap of the ball. Two offensive linemen out there, but you're right, I thought the ball was, if not exactly parallel, maybe a little bit in front of Congemi.
Well, it happens that we're sitting right on the 52-yard line where the ball is now, and it looked like a forward pass to me, or at least a straight lateral and not a lateral behind. Here's a trained formation from the Stampeders. Nobody in the backfield behind Danny Barrett, and he throws a completion first time out on the sidelines to Big Allen Pitt.
Well, the Argos start with a funny formation, and the Stampeders come back with a different formation. No one in the backfield, three receivers to either side.
Gorgeous night here in Calgary. It's been that way throughout the province all week long, and we spoke to you from Edmonton the other night about the perfect weather there. It has followed us to Calgary. From the 35-yard line, Andy McVeigh, the ball carrier, and that gives us reason to talk about the starting backfield for the Stampeders in this game. You will not see Keevan Jenkins.
Keevan Jenkins, as usual, shows up to the dressing room and prepares for a football game. He was bending down to tie up his shoes, and his back went into spasms. Not just a little twinge, but something serious enough that they had to examine him and told him he couldn't play because his back was too bad, and I don't think he would have anyway. So they had to go on the hunt for another running back.
Barrett calling the signals out at the line of scrimmage. Short drop and a pass, and the signals didn't get out to Eddie Brown. He was coming in as the pass was going out of bounds.
To finish the story about finding another running back, they had to go find Tim Petros, and at the time he was over serving pizza at his dad's restaurant, Nick's Steakhouse. And that's just across the street from the stadium. And that was about an hour before the game. So some quick shuffling by Wally Buono and his coaching staff.
Mark McLaughlin will try to put the first points on the board in this game. It'll be a 40-yard field goal attempt. McLaughlin is good, and the Stampeders take advantage of the early turnover to take the early lead. Wally Buono still has not experienced a loss as a head coach in the CFL and would like that record to stay intact after tonight's game. Another good kick return by Clemens.
Matthews having to jump back, really take a good look at that first call, but I think as both as a coach and a player, you have to forget about it. There's absolutely nothing you can do about it now, and I don't think that'll change their scheme one little bit on what they want to do. Just a little bit unlucky in that first play, and they're lucky only to get away with having 3 scored against them.
Well, here come 2 linemen to the other side, the right side, and Clemens is with them. So they try the same play to the right. Yes, and this is definitely a pass thrown backwards. Clemens catches this one, but loses yardage. Some real doubt about the first call as to whether it was a lateral or a forward pass. No doubt on this occasion.
Well, tremendous pursuit. The Stampeder defense adjusted nicely to that formation that was thrown at them, and the likes of Ford and Warnock get out there quickly and really dismantle the play as it started to set up.
Well, I think they'll try something else after Clemens left and Clemens right on the Ninja produced a fumble and an 8-yard loss. Second down, 18. Good time for Congemi, throws it deep, and his receiver went the wrong way. Jeff Boyd went to the sidelines and cut it short as Congemi threw it deep.
Boyd simply breaking out at 15 yards and Congemi throwing it downfield. And this is the time or the type of game that Don Matthews doesn't get the full effect of that no-huddle offense because it doesn't help. Good defense took it away from him.
Derek Crawford, one of the punt returners, thought he might have spotted something. He ran up. It was a punt, however, and Eddie Brown on the return is taken down at the 43-yard line. You're watching Molson Canadian Football Network. Don Mullen was shaken up as the Argos punted the ball, and the Stampeders now scrimmage it from their 43. Calgary leading 3-0 as we're 4 minutes into this game. Barrett throws it deep. Brock Smith just about.
Pretty good timing by the Stampeders. Barrett rolling to one side, trying to pull 26 John Field, the safety of the Argos, to one side. Watch for 26, the middle of your screen. He drops, reads one way, then goes across. Now he makes that adjustment when the ball's in the air. Perfectly thrown ball and very catchable.
Smith seemed to reach out when another stride would have taken him right to the ball. The Argo defender might have been the reason for that. Barrett on the run. Pass is caught inbounds by Derek Crawford. Who would have been the designated import in this game, but because the Stampeders are an import short with a loss, last-minute loss of Kevan Jenkins, Crawford will see more playing time, I'm sure.
Again, the Stampeders to move out. Good blocking, a little bit of a roll to the left, but Barrett throws that ball as well as anybody on the run, especially going to his left.
1 foot in, and they really had that 1 foot in. McVeigh, and it doesn't stop the Stampeders from running the ball because Kevan Jenkins isn't there. Andy McVeigh, and you'll see him with Tim Petros and Tony Spolatini in the backfield, all Canadian backfield, we might say. Big gain by McVeigh.
Motion to the left. Here comes Kevin Powell, left tackle. He's going to pull and kick out. McVeigh makes the right read and then just gets upfield. Don't dance around. Get your shoulders and your helmet down and take somebody on and get yardage.
And rookie Dave Sapungis lines up in the backfield, though he will go from there to be a receiver. McVeigh one more time to the 35-yard line. Good recovery by linebacker Darryl Ford, or McVeigh might have gained another big chunk.
Second down, Stampede.
Bowen back in the game. He was hurt on that last punting play. He sets up the outside linebacker. This is his 141st consecutive football game. And starting, I might add.
Barrett, a quick pass and near a first down. Good catch on the play by Sapungis, the rookie, #1 draft pick.
Well, if you're going to expose yourself offensively, you better be able to react downfield. And that's what Barrett does. McVeigh steps up and takes pressure inside, but Mullen to the left is coming on a blitz. Sapungis releases, but comes to the inside of Brazeley. Two things that allows Barrett to throw the ball early, and it's tough to knock the ball down when you're in front of the receiver or the defensive back.
That would have been a fine catch by Sapungis if he hadn't had Brazeley covering him as he did, but the combination makes it a great catch for a first down. Timely one by Western Ontario rookie Dave Sapunjas. Now Barrett is sacked for the first time in the game.
Danny Barrett brought down by Chris Gaines in the backfield.
Well, look at the time there. Barrett had some time to throw. A little bit of fake to McVeigh, out to the outside. Spolatini does a good job right in front of him. But number 38, Chris Gaines from the middle linebacker, moves with the motion and then blitzes when he sees no responsibility for coverage.
He might have been looking for Eddie Brown. Reggie Pleasant, the league's leading interceptor, was watching him.
Noticed he didn't turn the shoulder on the move to the inside. He kept that outside exposure on the good coverage.
Second and long, the Stampeders back at the 35. Barrett doesn't have time to throw a long pass. And talk about good coverage again. Chris Gaines, who made the sack, now makes an incompletion out of a toss to Tony Spolatini.
Argos coming after the Stampeders a little bit. Different types of blitzes, using different people. That time Gaines isolated on the third man out to the short side of the field, which was Spolatini, and was in very close coverage.
McLaughlin from 42 yards this time. Straight through the middle, and it is 6-0 as Mark McLaughlin makes his 19th field goal of the season.
Interesting statistic to McLaughlin's field goals is he's got 19, 12 of which have been on the 40-yard line or outside the 40. So good consistency from a good range.
Been a good season for him, but he had a couple of chances to win the only game that the Stampeders did not win, and that was the tie at Vancouver in the league opener for Calgary.
Andrew, they all got it?
I think Wally Bona will agree that it should never have come down to that field goal that Mark McLaughlin had to try. They gave the game or allowed the Lions to get back into the game, and that's something you have to deal with and go on when you get chances to win it. You want those chances.
Well, Clemens has had two good returns. The Stampeders continue to kick it to him. And this time, Michael Clemens has trouble keeping his feet. And it's not a good return. We asked John Congemi about the hurry-up offense. He had not been a big fan of it.
Going into the season, I wasn't a true believer in it. I really never did it, probably, and that's why. And now that I'm accustomed of doing it in practice, and last week under fire in a real game situation, it's become a little bit more comfortable for me. I guess when we huddle up, it's a little uncomfortable now. So it's a good thing as long as we keep moving the football, making first downs, and keeping the defense trying to wear them down a little bit.
Get the ball to Michael Clemens. Don Matthews said that over and over again yesterday, and he seems to be following through in this game plan.
Well, he's as quick as changing directions as any back I've ever seen. They talked about Finnerty last year about being able to move laterally and then cut upfield. He was good at it, but I think Mike Clemens is even quicker on that quick cut and then getting upfield. Makes him tough to tackle.
First down of the game for the Argos near their 45. Kevin Smelly breaks free, fumbles the ball low. Kenny Ford can't find it, and the Stampeders still come up with a fumble recovery, according to them, that is. Ford is happy that somebody else got it because he missed the best chance to do that.
All picked up by Kent Warnock on the fumble by Smelly.
Kent Warnock, known as Warrior here in Calgary, recovered the fumble. And the Stampeders have the ball with Toronto's second turnover at midfield. Quick pass with a flag coming down to Tony Spolatini.
Eric's pass complete to Spolatini. However, there is a flag down on the play.
Stampeders showing one thing on offense and then trying to execute the other.
Number 52, Calgary.
Here's the recovery on the fumble. Warnock takes on the blocker. Now he's just going to follow the ball. Good pursuit angle, but that hit right there by Thurman knocks the ball out. Ford overruns it, hoping for a quick bounce. And Warnock doesn't take any chances for a return. He just drops and rolls.
He had to battle Jeff Boyd for it. The penalty sends the Stampeders 10 yards in reverse to their 45. Quick pass to Derek Crawford. He got one block that he needed. He's dangerous in the open field. Former USFL star is within 5 of the first down.
Good for 15 yards, but he will be short of first down yardage by about 5.
Well, the last time Crawford played 4 games in a row was back in 1985.
In on the tackle for the yard.
But this quick screen shows he's still got the quickness and knows how to make the reads. Back inside, McVeigh makes the block and then back upfield.
Second down and 5 for Calgary, leading 6-0. McVeigh will be stopped short of the first down by Carl Brazeley.
Complete to McVeigh, but he'll be short first down yardage.
One thing Danny Barrett has been very successful at this year, and it's easy to see from some of his statistics that he's done a good job reading what defenses are giving him and not forcing balls into areas. He only has 1 interception to this point on 74 passes, and if he can keep up that kind of percentage and efficiency, Calgary offensively won't make a lot of mistakes to hurt themselves.
Here's the first effort of the night by the league's leading punter, Brent Maddich, and he's had many better than this one, though the bounce does help. And Mike Clemens is going to look at it and watch it and pick it up and give 1 point. The 7th point of the opening quarter for the Calgary Stampeders.
4-yard punt by Brent Maddich.
4 of those points a direct result of Toronto fumbles.
The single point. Stampeders 7, Argos no score.
Doesn't want to give the ball up. He says, I know I need the ball more. It just, you know, there are different things that get players back in and try to get their concentration tightened up a little bit. And that might be one of them for Clemens, just simply going back and say, look, I got to get in this football game.
31-22 now in favor of the Hamilton Ticats. Will keep you up to date. We last told you that Ottawa was first and goal with a chance to cut into that lead, and the Riders had to settle for a field goal.
Snelly, the ball carrier for the Argos, but he is.
The Argos showing us somewhat of an option formation. That time, Smelly hits in on the dive. But you can bet sometime this evening we're going to see Conjemi pull the ball back out with his pitch man being Mike Clemens.
Clemens again, and does he break tackles?
Clemens is, I guess, one of the best ways to describe him. He's just stubborn. He takes shots, he keeps his legs going. And to defend a guy like that, you can never assume that someone is going to make the tackle. And you saw as Ford came over, he slowed down a little bit, thinking, well, maybe we got him. Ford's got to keep going, as the rest of the defense has to do, to tie him up.
They hit him high, hit him low, and then hit him right at the ankles, and everybody will come down that way with a tackle like Ken Ford. Will Johnson back in the lineup for the Calgary Stampeders, and he's a force at the defensive end spot.
Well, I like Johnson because of his quickness. He's done well. He missed last game, so the 3 sacks are fairly productive, but the reason he's there is because he's supposed to be a pure pass rusher.
Conjemi making sure everybody knows the call and the count. Second down and 8. Steps up. And he has to run now. And he will get a first down. John Conjemi to the 45-yard line of the Stampeders and never did take a hit.
You get a chance to see exactly how a quarterback, when you approach the line of scrimmage, if you keep that ball away from your body, in other words, don't tuck it away, it really affects the defense. The linebackers and the secondary in coverage, they have to respect your opportunity and your option to throw it. But a good straight arm right there keeps him to the outside. Scamp working hard on Warnock. Keep going to the outside. Never assume that your quarterback hasn't thrown the ball. Bob Scamp working hard at that right guard position, has his hands full.
Conjemi to Smelly, who makes some yardage with his moves at the line of scrimmage. There was no hole, and he found some room and gained 5, maybe closer to 6.
You look at this no-huddle offense.
Come on, we're playing the
And there are a lot of things they have to be able to communicate on the field, not only the play, but other things like the snap count. Because you can't always go on the first sound.
Smelly right up the middle will be a couple of yards short of the first down. The Argos will take their turn at a field goal now.
Kenny Ford keeping them away from the first down, however. Third down, Argonauts.
Chomik getting an opportunity to break a team record this year held by Zen and Andrusician. He said before the game he was going to make his first one and put it away early.
How about a fake here?
Actually, it's not a bad idea. Actually, it's a great idea.
Let's see. They fake it to Darrell Smith, and he makes the first down. I don't know.
I think it's a great call. A shuttle pass. Smith, who's normally not in there, watch him move, come towards the bottom of the screen. The man to the outside, McCrary, is coming up. He just cuts underneath. They close off the corner with the guard and tackle. And he doesn't have to have a lot, and he didn't get a lot, but he did get enough for the first down, and I think it was a great call.
Straight from the mind of Don Matthews, who likes to be wide open and likes touchdowns better than field goals. That's the bottom line. Jimmy, rush, down he goes, and just at the last minute did he pull the ball in for Kent Warnock, who is the sack leader in the Stampeder team. Might have had more than a sack. He has at least one in every game, and we can say that again.
Well, he's known for his tenacity and wanting to get to the quarterback, and that's exactly what it is here. He's blocked by Ferroni and blocked well, but look, he keeps going. He fights through the block, and good timing. And just think last year in training camp, they were slotting him as an offensive tackle. It's a good thing they didn't.
Second down, they must go to the 22-yard line. Play action from Kangemi. Circus grab down at the 17, 18-yard line by Andrew Murray. And he could have been excused for not catching that one.
Well, those are the types of catches you have to be able to come across. You start to gear down when you see the ball, and especially when it's behind you. But you don't have good control of your body like that to be able to shut down and swing around. It makes it a very difficult catch. He has that ability.
Ex-BC Lion from Carleton University. And there's Clemens breaking another tackle, though he was out of bounds when he did. And Matt Finley has to wonder, why wouldn't he come down when I give him everything I've got? One quarter is over. Stampeders lead by 7. The Argos have the ball at the Calgary 11-yard line as the second quarter starts. They have 4 yards needed to make a first down on this drive that was extended by the gamble on third down from the fake field goal formation. Both sides move. Certainly an Argo offensive lineman on the move. He was pulling already, was Chris Schultz. And busts the penalty for illegal motion.
Procedure number 67, second down.
I think you'll see Calgary move first, but they get the opportunity to come back right at the bottom of your screen. There you go.
So they're back at the 16-yard line now, and 2nd and 9. And Jemmy over the middle for the touchdown to Clemens, and he should have the offense to himself if the Argos have their way, because they want him running and receiving, and they now have a convert to tie the game.
Good call by John Kangemi down close to the goal line. Gets a chance to isolate Clemens. And again, the situation, you see no one in the middle of the field. Well, that's where Clemens is coming to. And look at the mismatch. Joe Clossy on Mike Clemens.
Let's go, Mike. Hey, it's there all night.
I mean, there are an awful lot of outside linebackers that are used to covering backs that have a tough time with him.
Lance Chomik makes the convert. He was lined up to try a field goal earlier in that drive, but instead of 7-3, it's 7-7 because of the gamble of the eventual TD pass from John Kangemi to Mike Clemens. Matt Dunnigan, you might have overheard, telling Mike Clemens that it's there all night long. What does Dunnigan do all night long when he doesn't play?
I'm just being the most friendly guy as possible on the sidelines. You know, I'm just pumping them up, pumping everybody up, saying, hey, you're doing great. You know, it was a great call, it was a great drive. It's a way to go down and get us some points. You know, that was a great pass. You know, guy just dropped it, or, almost there. You know, just anything positive. And that's what John does for me when he's on the sets, and that's what I try to do for him when he's on the sets, because a lot of times there's a lot of things going through your mind, and if you get some positive reinforcement on the sideline, maybe something will click in, and maybe it'll give you that extra boost that you need to get over the hump at a certain critical time. And you're just being happy-go-lucky, trying to be positive and pump the guy and put him in a good situation and relay the messages that Adam Reed is sending down from the press box.
Derek Crawford returns to Calgary. And the one thing it does for Matt Dunnigan is keep him active. And if he doesn't have something to do, I wouldn't want to sit beside him and watch the game.
No, it'd drive you crazy. I mean, he's so competitive as he should be, and when he gets in that opportunity, I'm sure as you said, he has to be very calm. And I'm sure Dunnigan understands and feels very comfortable with Kangemi stepping in there and doing such a fine job, because he really has. Last week when he had a chance in the first 2.5 quarters, and so far this evening, done well in the execution. Good job of calling his plays, something which he hadn't had to do for the last couple of years.
Barrett along the line to Crawford, and he is making good yardage with this play. Close to a first down. It looks as though he has it. He was taken down rudely, and Darryl Ford was in on the tackle. Crawford will come out for a rest. Brock Smith takes his place. A lot of movement back and forth between the bench and the huddle, and I would think Key Van Jenkins' absence might have something to do with that. Barrett throws it deep. And out of bounds is Eddie Brown along with Reggie Pleasant, the defender.
Well, I think the loss of Jenkins does have some impact, and I think if they could get over it in the dressing room, the shock of having that happen to a teammate, a guy that a great deal of production last week through the ground and the air is 173 yards. You miss a person like that, and that doesn't even take into account that he returns kicks and punts. So they get over that shock. They have confidence in the people that they have there, and then they line up and get ready to go, because it sure isn't going to help you to worry about it.
Gone formation, which means everybody gone from the backfield. It was installed here last year, and the Stampeders still use it. It is now featured in the BC Lions offense. Nice grab by Pitts. He's aware of the yardsticks, almost went backwards one step too much, but he has the first down.
Well, a good read by Barrett. He gets in a situation with 6 receivers going downfield. He's got to make some quick reads, and he does exactly that. Good protection up front, getting everyone on the ground. What concerns me is the way he's holding the ball right there. I think that if he does go off, an offensive coach might take him aside, just gently say, tuck the ball away.
Hand off to McVeigh, and he's wrapped up by Brian Bellway for a loss. Bellway's been around, and now is a Toronto Argo, and happy about it on that play.
A loss of 2 yards on the play.
Don Matthews likes to put pressure, and he's got some people on that defense that have the ability, right from that front 4 or front 7, including the linebackers, right into the defensive secondary. But it's all a matter of timing. And I don't quite think the timing's right yet to open the can and bring everybody.
Again, they're all gone. 3 receivers to each side. Barrett to Pitts. No blocking. He had 1 man to beat him. Did he beat him? Whoa, Alan Pitts then lost the ball. And the Argo bounce works for Calgary. If you know what I mean.
It's a long time since I've heard anyone say the Argo bounce. Well, everyone's out. Here comes the pressure. The ball's gone in no time. And there's that ball out there again. We talked about being able to put it away. You can have great hands and sticky gloves, but you've got to have it against your chest. And as fortune would have it, it ends up back in the hands of Alan Pitts.
And not only one good bounce that Marshall Toner almost got, but the second one back to Pitts. First down from the 15. How about the hands that the Stampeders are showing catching these balls? Eddie Brown, a defender all over him at the 2-yard line.
Well, Eddie Brown is another receiver that didn't play last year, but again, it's hard to know it the way he's adjusting. The ball's low into the outside. He's got Reggie Pleasant coming up hard, whacking his shoulder, and he's still got the good hands to be able to catch it and then bring it in.
Tim Petros, the last-minute addition to the Calgary lineup tonight, is in there now as they stack the backfield. And given to McVeigh, and he's near the goal line, at the goal line, and over the goal line for a touchdown.
Well, any one of those 3 running backs in the backfield have the size to be able to punch it in the end zone from 1 yard. But what a good drive Calgary put together to get them to this point. Guard pulls out and around, gains the middle linebacker, who is really just mirroring what he sees in the running back. That block by Doug Davies allowed McVeigh to get in the end zone.
McLaughlin converts the touchdown. The Stampeders are back on top by 7. McVeigh scores the touchdown. Everything's different in that backfield with Keevan Jenkins out of there, and the Stampeders continue to have faith in their running game. McVeigh putting their first touchdown on the board in this game, and now the Stamps cover the kickoff better than they have earlier.
McVeigh, a product of the University of Toronto Blues, has shown before when he's lined up in that halfback spot, not only on the goal line, but in the middle of the field, that he's got some good quickness and has the ability, maybe not exactly like a Keevan Jenkins, but he can get the job done. It just might not happen as quickly.
Argos start from their 35-yard line. Clemens, and they're waiting for him this time. Mitchell Price is anyway.
Well, that's a situation where the Argos are pulling a lineman, and they're going to replace that lineman with a back. And they have to have someone go into that area and fill where the offensive lineman's coming out. And Mitchell Price just does a great job of reading.
Loss of a couple as Conjemi settles in on second down and throws it way up there, and it is incomplete. Trumaine Johnson battling Ron Hopkins, and it's Hopkins who celebrates.
Well, we hear an awful lot about Ron Hopkins, but usually when we talk about it, it's because his abilities to return kickoffs, which he does awfully well. But out in that corner can be a lonely job, and he does a good job out there. And in this case, a very good job staying inside Trumaine Johnson and being there when the ball came down.
Glenn Harper will punt from about his 20-yard line. And it looks as though the Argos have taken too much time.
Time count violation. Number 11, Toronto. 3rd down.
Well, that's a penalty that's worth taking if you're a man short or if someone is confused on a blocking assignment. It's better to take the 5 yards back than have one blocked. But if it's simply because no one's hustling and getting lined up and ready to go, that kind of penalty will drive people crazy.
The snap almost over Harper's head. Crawford inside his 40. He might go all the way. Harper chasing him and not getting him, and that's it. Derek Crawford, 6 points.
Wally Buono wants his team to have fun on special teams, but there's nothing any more delightful than getting a special team situation like this where everyone's working hard. Watch the Stampeders work. Petros there. They go the other way. There's a bit of a block there. Good block on Hansen allows Crawford to come back inside. Nice job of switching hands with the ball. And it's tucked away this time until he gets to about the 10. And I think it's fair that he can celebrate.
Stampeders by 14. Molson and CFN are proud to bring you the best of Canadian football. Special teams have been so important for the Stampeders this season, and again, they strike Derek Crawford's 71-yard punt return. John Field returns for the Argos to the 30. It lands down Park in Ottawa. Less than 2 minutes to go in the game. The Riders punch in a touchdown by David Conrad, his second score. And the convert puts the Riders within 2 points. A minute and a half or less remaining, and Ottawa has the ball back near midfield. We'll keep you posted. The loser of that game remains alone in the East Division cellar.
Alan Pitts receiving some attention on the field. And Dave, you asked Wally Buono an interesting question. We had an opportunity to speak to him at the early part of the year at the start before the game of the BC Lions, and you suggested or asked if in fact he was happy with the receivers he has picked from training camp, thinking that maybe, you know, it wasn't exactly what he wanted, but that's all he had to go with. And his answer was quite simple, that he's quite pleased, and there might be a little dust on those receivers, but not a lot of rust.
Well, Pitts has shown us what he can do, and Eddie Brown as well. Our last game, it seems like only a couple of nights ago, Stuart Hill of the Edmonton Eskimos for 5 sacks against the Saskatchewan Roughriders as Edmonton piled up 57 points, the highest one team total in the league this season. Argos from their 30-yard line, down by 2 touchdowns midway through the second quarter. Smelly, and he won't go very far.
Smelly, the ball carrier for the Argonauts, but he doesn't get very far as Mitchell Price leads a gang of Stampeders on the tackle.
I think Calgary feels they have enough talent in their front four to be able to put enough pressure on the quarterback on a continual basis, not to have to worry about blitzing people an awful lot.
They don't blitz here. The pressure comes, but that's only to set up the screen to Clemens. And he'll dance and dipsy-doodle and dive for the first down.
That's exactly what he had to do to get to the first down. The Stampeders converged well on the play, reacting to the screen. It looked like he was going to have some more yardage, but it was just his effort alone that got that first down.
Well, they really do want to feature Mike Clemens. I wonder whether he's just seeing too much of the football now, because we haven't said much about Darryl Smith or Jeff Boyd or Trumaine Johnson yet. Smelly, and he reaches for the 50-yard line, getting to the 48, maybe the 49.
Well, Smelly has proven that he can be the breakaway style runner. He's going to get most of the work between the tackles. When they feature Mike Clemens, you do it. If you do it between the tackles, you do it on delays or counters where there's some time for the play to form.
Ball is dropped, and it is incomplete. No catch by Boyd.
I still like the way Kangemi has been directing the offense. That can't be blamed on him. Everything was right. They had the situation on the short side of the field, man coverage, and the ball was in there. But it has to be caught. And those are the little things that, when you start to drive the football, drive you nuts, not only as a coach, but as a player.
The last time Harper punted, he wound up trying to tackle Derek Crawford on the punt return, and it was a touchdown. Crawford is not back this time. And it is blocked. And the Stampeders have the ball in good field position, and maybe that's why Crawford wasn't back, because that's exactly what they were trying to do. Block the punt.
Through the lines, a block. That's Glenn Harper punt. Stampeder football.
Got it. And the Stampeders scrimmage the ball from the Argo 47-yard line. Too high for Alan Pitts, covered by Ed Berry.
Walter Ballard kind of happy he's able to turn the ball over to his offense in good field position. Just effort. Right there. It's rare to see a big man like that come outside. Usually they try to use his size to bust the up front wedge, but he came from the outside.
Dean Dorsey missed a field goal. With a few seconds remaining, Ottawa had to settle for 1 point, and Hamilton gets the 2 points in the standings. Ticats beat the Riders. Derek Crawford back in the game and contributing on offense.
Once again, we're seeing Danny Barrett making the right choice downfield, getting situations with the receivers and the defensive backs, just simply stopping in front of Reggie Pleasant.
Funny how things work out. If Keevan Jenkins plays in this game, Derek Crawford basically does it. He's the designated import otherwise. And because of Jenkins' absence, Crawford is getting a lot of work. 4 catches, plus his punt return touchdown, which he'd have been able to do anyway. Andy McVeigh is greeted.
Andy McVeigh hit in the backfield by
Harold Hallman. This is when that defense of the Argos has to tighten up. Not necessarily take chances, because I don't think that's the right way to play defense. I think it's read your keys and rely on the guy beside you that everything's going to work out if everyone does what they're supposed to.
They lost 2 on the play and may be lucky to keep the ball. Barrett has not run yet and does for his life this time. Chris Gaines falls on top.
Danny Barrett gets the ball himself. He takes up maybe a yard on the play. It is 3rd down. Stampeders.
Well, no one should know better about linebacking than head coach Wally Buono. He was a good one for the Montreal Alouettes for a number of years. So pull out the headset for a bit and spend some time with them. He works with the defense, and he's a knowledgeable guy. He's a player that became a student of the game, and I think that's why he's going to have success as a coach.
Mark McLaughlin made 2 field goals to open the scoring in this game. This from 36 yards out is also good. And the Calgary lead is extended to 24-7.
And the Stampeders 24, the Argos 7 with 4:07 left to play in the first half of
this game ends the 5th week of the CFL season, and week number 6 begins Tuesday. CFN will be at Taylor Field in Regina for BC at Saskatchewan. You'll also have coverage of the Calgary-Edmonton game, which is played the same night. Well, the Argos were tied with the Stampeders earlier in this second quarter at 7, and they have seen the Stamps reel out 17 straight points. Kajemi still has it. Screen to Smelly. Long striding fullback goes out at the 50-yard line.
The running threat influences the defense, and that's exactly how Smelly was able to get to the outside and have success with that play, because they being the Calgary defense, took a big bite on the fake by Mike Clemens.
A lot of work for the backs in this Argo offense. Smelly and Clemens. As yet, Darrell Smith not a factor, and he is the league's leading receiver. One more time, Michael Clemens. Now, you might think somebody as small as Clemens would not react well to all this work, but the feeling is that he gets better the more he does have the ball.
I think that's the case of most good running backs, that they like the work, they get better as the game goes on. My concern, I think if I had been Don Matthews, was that this Clemens' size might work against him because of injury, but that is not a concern.
Be sure to catch the 1140 KISS AM Hot Sports on your way home from the football game tonight with...
Under 3 minutes to go in the first half. The Argos are second down and 8. Kangemi hits Paul Mazzotti at the 35 of the Stampeders, and this is interesting. That's his 8th completion of the game. 6 of them have been to running backs, Smelly and Clemens, and 2 to receivers, but not the receivers you think of. Andrew Murray has 1, and now Paul Mazzotti has 1. So Darrell Smith, Jeff Boyd, and Trumaine Johnson, the so-called dangerous part of the Toronto pass attack. Not a catch. There's Smith's first one, and he gets it to the 5.
Interesting situation. Smith makes a great catch, goes after the ball, as he always does and is known to do. But Mike Clements is in the same area. You don't want 2 receivers even within 5 yards of each other, I wouldn't think, because the defense draws to it. Straight back. There goes Clements to your left. He's going up the seam. Same with Darrell Smith.
Well, Clements knew enough not to get in the way. Clemens outside. Not going to break that tackle. Good job by Junior Thurman, who took him on head-on.
Well, Thurman came up very quickly once he sees the sweep to that short side. He's close to the line of scrimmage to begin with, but you're right. He was the last man. If he isn't secure in that shot that he gives Clemens, with Clemens' quickness, he might have been able to stop on the dime and go down, but it's good, solid tackling.
Second and goal, they're back at the 10. Over the middle, Joe Clausey is the middle linebacker, and he intercepts. Another turnover, and they plague the Argos. I wouldn't say this is nearly as bad as their first half in Winnipeg, but there are some similarities.
There are an awful lot of them. Clausey, the man who came into training camp as a rush end, C60. See when he turned his head and made a read, he started to go that way to our left or his right. He's seeing something that Kangemi, or where Kangemi wants to go, and you can bet he's looking at the quarterback while he's dropping. That makes his 3rd interception of the year, and I think he's filled in very well for a guy that never played middle linebacker before.
2:11 to go. The Stampeders prevented Argos' score. And now would like to hold on to the ball for as long as they can. Barrett will throw it on first down, throw it deep. Good concentration on the ball by Eddie Brown. You could see him looking at it all the way, feeling he had a chance.
Well, I think he did have a chance. The ball was thrown to the outside, and any less coverage by Reggie Pleasant, that would have been a catch. But you're going against one of the better corners in the league, and Pleasant doesn't have 6 interceptions for nothing.
He's the individual leader. The Argos also lead the league as a team with a total of 16 interceptions, but right now the biggest interceptor on the field is Joe Clausey. Stampeders are second down from their own 4. The clock, of course, was stopped with that incompletion. Barrett may decide to run, and he is stopped short. There was room earlier, but he took a little while to get out there or make the decision. Don Moen with the tackle, and the Stampeders have to punt from their end zone.
I don't think it's a matter of taking a little bit longer to make that decision. I think he was hoping that something downfield that looked like it might open up would open up, but you know, he makes the right choice by tucking the ball and only getting a couple where there's a possibility of an interception downfield, especially considering their field position.
The league leader is Brent Matich, averaged 43.2. Coming into this game, he got a nice bounce and a single point at his first punt. That added to the distance. It wasn't as good as those numbers look, and with 1:52 to go, a timeout has been called.
Dave Sapungis, you see him beside Wally Borno, Tom Higgins, made the call for the timeout.
So not as you would think, the Argos calling the timeout, but the Stampeders, because of their confusion, and the worst time to have a breakdown is when you're trying to punt from the end zone.
Yes, that's it, let's go. Clock, time.
There was some mention of 2 points there.
Well, if there's any question of a bad snapper that he couldn't get the ball away, don't be afraid to take the 2 points. The kamikaze is putting 4 people back deep and expecting and anticipating a rush, a heavy rush up the middle.
Again, not a good punt by Matic. Goal, the Stampeders almost got a break. Clemens got it back and goes out of bounds at the 30-yard line.
34 yards.
So with 1:43 to go, there's plenty of time for the Argos to march right back down to where they were before Joe Clausey intercepted the ball.
Well, Clemens in a bit of between a rock and a hard place there. You want to, as a punt returner, catch the ball on the fly, because with a punt like that, a crazy bounce could go over his head. He's just, I think, a little bit frustrated. He mishandled it, but as you mentioned earlier, that Argo bounce has been alive once tonight for Calgary, and that time for Mike Clemens.
Argos down by 17, trying to make the intermission score better than that. Jemmy to Smelly. Good solid hit on him by Dave McCrary. But Smelly was to the 24-yard line. Second down, no huddle, and they need just a bit more than 4 yards. No first down like that. The intended receiver, Trumaine Johnson.
Ron Hopkins.
Ball thrown simply low and to the outside.
Well, Lance Tomic will probably kick this one. At least the Argos won't fake it the same way. The Stampeders have seen that once already. And it did lead to the Argos' lone touchdown of this game. Tomic's 31-yard field goal is up and good. And that makes the score 24-10.
1:24 left to play.
There's Lance Chomic's folks, Don and Sylvia, who will be the recipient of that ball that Chomic just put through the uprights. Not only are they going to get a ball, they got pretty good seats for this game, too. Oh, I got to get some stickum for Mom, though.
Well, if he'd been sitting at the top, they'd have had to have Conjemi throw it to them, but that way, Tomic can handle it.
That's got to be exciting for folks to be able to see your son play the game of football and obviously do well as an individual, but break records. Records are secondary. But when you can get them, it's nice to have them. As we said earlier, that record was held by Zenon Andrusician for an awful long time.
Double threat deep for the Stampeders, Crawford and Hopkins, and Ron Hopkins leads the league. They'll kick it to Crawford, who has scored on a punt return already tonight. Chomic chases, and Crawford will go down. Don Wilson, the saving tackle, almost a touchdown on a kick return after his punt return TD, and he went 72 yards with that one, which just about equates with his punt return TD.
You get to see how it forms right here. He hits up and falls his wedge. The wedge takes the initial impact of the Argonaut coverage, and then it's up to the returner, this time Crawford, to find that hole, get to the sidelines, and turn it into a foot race.
How's that? You kick it away from the league's best, and you get that guy. Barrett fires it up. This is Brock Smith, and he's got it. Did he hold it? Yes.
Special teams can win games for you, not only on returns, as we saw earlier on this evening, but getting your offensive team in the position to score. And then again, you have to be able to take advantage of that opportunity. And Calgary has done that this year, and they've done it again right here. Well-thrown football to the outside. Only one man's going to catch this, Brock Smith. And that's a great catch.
A 17-yard pass, and it is interesting that the Stampeders lead the league in points scored, but are last in the league in passing yardage. And one reason why is exactly what you saw. They don't have to pass it very far to score if they can return kicks like Derek Crawford did.
Well, it'll certainly give the other teams across the league something to think about. They've had to worry about Ron Hopkins returning kickoffs. Now they've got another one to worry about, Derek Crawford. And let's not forget about that, who they call the Desperados, that receiving core of the Calgary Stampeders, who to this point in the season have done nothing but catch the football, and some of them have been for touchdowns.
Well, he'll have enough yards if this night keeps up at this rate. 172 in the first half. And the one touchdown pass to Brock Smith. 109 left. Clemens will try to make a big return for the Argos. Down at the 33-yard line. There's Derek Crawford.
Nothing short of spectacular to this point. Wow.
Don't forget his pass receptions, too. He's contributed a whole lot of yardage in this first half. Close to 150 just on kicks, and he's got 61 more unofficially through he's got 200 yards of combined offense in the first half. Screen again to Clemens. Dave McCrary nails him.
That's the second time McCrary's come up from his halfback spot and made just a good, clean tackle on Clemens. Maybe the key is with Clemens not to try to unload and knock him back 10 yards, but to position yourself so your helmet's in his chest and you wrap him up. Got to be under control when you're coming up to tackle a guy with moves like Clemens.
Less than a minute to go till halftime. The Argos down by 21 points. Smelly bobbles it, and he's rocked by Junior Thurman. Good job just to stay on his feet and to hold the ball and to get the first down.
The pass to Smelly, the first hit by Junior Thurman.
Well, it's not much fun when you have to turn around to catch a ball, and you know just as sure as the sun's going to come up the next day that you're going to get hammered. And boom, right in the chest. Good job of staying on his feet.
Stampeders playing off a bit with the situation late in the half, giving the Argos some yardage. Andrew Murray near midfield. The Stamps will want to tighten up now as Don Matthews hopes for at least 3 points before the end of the half. Interesting, though, and we mentioned this again, that Darryl Smith has one catch. Trumaine Johnson and Jeff Boyd have been shut out.
Well, there's something, too, throwing to those people if they're doing a great job, they being the Stampeder defense, in coverage on your threats. I mean, you have to be able to take and be patient enough to throw the ball to the people that are open and not try to force it to the Smiths or the Trumaine Johnsons if they're not open. But at the same time, you've got to devise a scheme where you've got to get the ball in the hands of the Darryl Smith and Jeff Boyd because of their threat.
Second down and ever so little to go. The Argos looking at 26 seconds on the clock. And they hand the ball to Smelly, and he loses yards.
Well, it seemed like quite obvious that Kangemi was making a change or waiting for the Stampeder defense to line up so he could make a read and make that call, but
I must say that's the last call I expected in that situation.
Oh, me too. I mean, Mitchell Price and Ballard, I mean, they're just right there. There's no question that it's almost like they knew it was coming. And maybe they did.
Now it is third down, and they must get a yard, and Kangemi will. 14 seconds left, but the second down play took some valuable time off the clock. And would have done that even if he'd made the first down. They do make it on third down, but the clock moves. And Kangemi moves straight downward.
Warrior, Kent Warnock, his second quarterback sack tonight.
A mild celebration, but that's all he has to do. He is making his presence known as a force this year as a defensive tackle. And again, the tenacity of being blocked and just keep working upfield. He's got tremendous size. He's got some quickness with that size, and that's not easy to block in a one-on-one situation.
Second down, and the Argos will throw this one long and far. Kangemi fires it up. Smith caught the ball, but the clock will run out on the Argos, and they needed a score, not something shorter than that. Darryl Smith's second catch, but it doesn't matter. The Argos are down by 3 touchdowns at the half. A big first half for the Calgary Stampeders. That gives them a big lead after 2 quarters. Calgary 31 and the Toronto Argos 10. The Argos secondary has earned some plaudits this season, and one of the members of it is a character veteran and a guy who I guess could be called a veteran character, Carl Braisley.
You know, anything that's that difficult, you got to find a way to have fun and enjoy yourself. So, you know, I do my best to try to keep things light. My people, hello, how you doing? All football players aren't just one-dimensional. Some of us are into more exotic things like boating and things like that. This is my state-of-the-art boat. I know it looks a little down right now, but my cousin Eddie Murphy called me up and said, Carl, you know, you're doing great, and I've been loving watching you play for a long time.
He has the confidence of a seasoned veteran and the enthusiasm of a rookie. Toronto's Carl Braisley is a bit different, but his presence on the Argos is a welcome one.
Carl Braisley, how do you explain Carl Braisley? He's one of the players on the team that keeps everybody up, keeps the morale going, and just a team, overall team leader.
I'm the Dennis the Menace of the team. You know, you don't know where I am, but you know I'm into something.
He's a kind of a jokester, prankster kind of guy, always in a good mood. When guys are down, he's always trying to bring guys up, keeps everybody in a good mood, and keeps them on their toes.
Braisley's pro football career has spanned the decade. It started in Montreal, continued in Ottawa, and was highlighted by a defensive MVP award in Toronto's last Grey Cup victory. He's in his 11th season and still has got what it takes.
Braisley now tries to make what he can of it, and it'll turn into a pretty good return. Braisley down the sideline, still inbounds. He could go all the way. What a turn of events this might be as Carl Braisley will score 6.
That was a mistake. Don't y'all ever let it happen again. If y'all see me running, tackle me. Please, don't let me get that far down the field. It was just one of those plays. We needed a big play, and I was going to concede the point. The ball bounced, and I said, what the heck, I'm old, they won't blame me. So I took the ball and took off running.
Time in the professional spotlight has been rewarding. Braisley's cheerful character hasn't gone unnoticed.
And being in the public eye when I am, I guess, is really special. And I always try to make an effort to recognize the kids and the people, let them know that, you know, that we are there for them too, and that, like, you know, it's not just us, the superstars, sitting, you know, high on the world, but, you know, we're just humans and people, and we got problems, things too, and we appreciate them too. I never will forget, we went to one school and a little girl opening up to me about the hard time she had and things like that, and how she grew up in a broken home and, you know, alcoholic parents and this and that, and she was really opening up to me, and she really didn't open up to me until after I had spoken before and told her I had come from a broken home and I had an alcoholic parent, alcoholic father, and, you know, we really had it rough, but, you know, that you can still make it, and, you know, you can, you know, still be whatever you want to be, and you can't let other things hold you back. Then it really kind of sunk home about the influence and the positive influence that we can have on kids, and not just kids, I guess everybody.
It's all around beautiful person, all around. You know that, Brace, you know that.
Eddie, send money. Money, Eddie, money. You know you owe me money? Send it. I send y'all. I want to see you soon. Book me a date and I'll be there, all right? Love you, baby. Peace.
The Calgary Stampeders featuring the kick returning and punt returning of Derek Crawford, leading the Toronto Argos 31-10 at halftime. There was one other game played tonight when the Hamilton Tiger Cats left the Ottawa Rough Riders in the East Division cellar with a 1-point win. Some highlights from Lansdowne Park. The game tied 3-3 early when Derek McAdoo, who can do this very well, throws the option pass for a touchdown. Earl Winfield credited with a touchdown anyway, though he might not have had possession long enough. Rocky DiPietro certainly does, and it's 17-3 in favor of the Ticats at this point. Now an Ottawa comeback after Damon Allen gives way to Ken Hobart, and he throws all he can to Stephen Jones for the first Ottawa TD. Here comes another one by David Conrad as the Riders get back into the game. They had trailed 20-3 at one point. They're within 5 at that point, but here's a big play in the game. A punt by Paulus Baldiston. Scott Flegel on the other end fumbles, and Gary Wilkerson picks it up for a Ticat major. The Cats up by 12. The Riders keep coming though. Dave Conrad another TD. Ottawa gets close, and just this close. 2 points down, 39 yards away for Dean Dorsey at the end, and he missed it. 1 instead of 3, and the Cats are happy to give up that 1 point and take the victory with them. 31-30, so Hamilton's 2 wins this season have both been by narrow margins over Ottawa. The Calgary Stampeders aren't unbeaten for no reason. They've shown us a good part of the reason for their 3-0-1 record with an impressive first half. Jemmy over the middle for the touchdown to Clemens.
That kind of penalty will drive people crazy.
Snap almost over Harper's head. Crawford inside his 40. He might go all the way. Harper chasing him and not getting him, and that's it. Derek Crawford, 6 points. Barrett fires it up. This is Brock Smith, and he's got it. Did he hold it? Yes. And the Brock Smith touchdown set up by Derek Crawford, 72-yard kick return. 4 Argo turnovers and none for the Stampeders, and Calgary wins by protecting the ball and making big plays on special teams and doing just enough otherwise. A typical Calgary performance. The Stampeders lead by 21 points at the half.
Tonight's CFN game is an exclusive presentation of Sport OV. OV Real Life Beer. And Priority Courier, the official courier of the CFL.
Calgary Stampeders leading the Toronto Argos by 21 points, and Neil, it's hard not to be impressed by what we've seen from Calgary.
Very much so. You come into a game and each week you sort of think to yourself, well, I wonder how good they really are. Well, the Toronto Argonauts now know that the Calgary Stampeders are a tough football team. What impresses me is Calgary's been able to turn 3 out of the 4 turnovers into points.
And a blocked punt also helped. It's little things, I guess you call them little things until you see the Stampeders do them, and then they're big things.
Well, exactly, and big things like big plays, that return by Crawford.
There's the quarterback story, and as you see, Kangemi has completed more passes, better percentage, more yards, 1 touchdown each. And I guess the quarterbacks don't mean everything. The interception that Kangemi threw did prevent an Argo touchdown, as it was picked off by Clausey in the end zone.
Well, I asked Wally Buono to finish a sentence for me earlier on today. I said, out of all the things Danny Barrett has done, what is the thing he has done the best? He said, quite simply, execute. Made good decisions on throwing the football, on play selection, and has really showed a great deal of leadership, both by example and execution.
He's thrown 1 interception this season, Danny Barrett. John Field, a lot of good straight-ahead speed, but he can't use it here as the Argos will start from their 30-yard line.
59-yard kickoff by Mark.
The Stampeders have an awful lot of players that like to play special teams, and one of the good ones, and has been for a while, is 35, Dan Wicklund. And what he will do is come down, keep the ball returner in sight. He'll have to play off a blocker, but he never gets tied up, and he eventually, with good movement back and forth, makes a tackle.
Well, the Argos have had the ball more to run more plays, if that means anything, and the quick answer is that it doesn't. With one look at the scoreboard.
With a guy like Clemens, who likes to get outside as quickly as he can, give some credit there on that play to the two outside men, Johnson and Ballard, who really stopped Mike Clemens from making that cut to the outside and turned him back up in the middle to the waiting hands of Joe Clausey.
Now, we might as well deal with his nickname while we're looking at him. For those who are into such things, there's the last name, and his first name nickname is Kama, which translates into Kama Clausey.
And the way I've seen him play, that's not a bad nickname.
And the same with Pinball Clemens. A reaction, the Ottawa resident that you are, to the Rough Riders' 4th loss in 5 starts.
I'm disappointed on behalf of the Riders and some of the players that I know pretty well, because they've had a chance to win some of the games that they've lost, and that can be a very frustrating situation. If you get beaten soundly and you're physically handled, you can accept that, go back to practice the following week to get better. But if you've had an opportunity to win, that's the toughest thing.
Program, please take it immediately to the information booth under Section A.
We've just started the second half, and the score is 31-10, Calgary over Toronto. We'll go back to Mr. Kama Clausey and talk to the coach, Wally Buono, about this guy who came to camp as a defensive end and now plays as a middle linebacker.
Well, I gave myself credit yesterday for being his coach. You know, Joe Clausey's he's a good football player, and he's not a great middle linebacker yet because he doesn't have the instincts that come with experience. But I think once he gets the experience, he'll be every bit as good as any middle linebacker in this league.
From the University of Utah, Joe Clausey, before that from New York. So he's been around, and he changes positions and makes big plays, interceptions in this game. And Jemmy with time on second down. Darryl Hall, and you don't hear a lot about him. He's a rookie in the secondary. University of Washington, they know him now here in Calgary.
He was with the Seattle Seahawks in training camp in 1989, and he's another fellow that doesn't have a lot of experience, but a tremendous amount of talent. And right there is just showing that he's getting to the football once the ball's released. Maybe one of the quicker, if not the quickest player on the team in speed. And I think he showed that reacting to the ball thrown to Jeff Boyd.
Argos 5 turnovers plus a blocked punt. Barrett throws it up and throws it away, and there's a late hit on Danny Barrett.
Well, Peter, you got the flag on the play, so you got to be happy about that. For more information how you can enter the fan pick a play.
You know, that was one of the situations where Danny Barrett makes the right decision. He wants to throw a screen pass to Sapunjas.
Number 40, Toronto, first down.
But he doesn't throw that screen pass because Carl Brazeley is up in coverage. And if he throws it, it might get intercepted. Quick Parker called on a late shot, or in this case, a late push.
And all Barrett was doing was trying to throw the ball away, and because of the penalty, it turns into a big gain and a first down for the Stampeders to the Argo 36.
Danny Barrett's pass intended
for Alan
Pitts.
Pitts.
Get it out of his hands. Second down, Stampeders. Ladies and gentlemen, the attendance of tonight's football game.
You have to think the success that Barrett is having and the football team is rubbing off on Terrence Jones, the backup quarterback who has seen action when Barrett has gone down. But under a good situation like this, with the help of Danny Barrett and some schooling and practice and what to look for, he will mature more quickly as a good quarterback.
Second and 10, the Argos come with a blitz, and Barrett throws under it to Brock Smith, and he's got the first down.
Complete to Brock Smith. Good for a first down. That is.
A little bit of a delay across the middle. I wouldn't exactly call it a post pattern, but Smith allows two receivers to go upfield, and the coverage is on top, so he can't go to that middle area after it's cleared out. And Barrett puts a little bit more heat on that ball than he has on a couple others this evening.
He throws it hard. Wally Buono says, in fact, there are times when he'd like Danny Barrett to throw it not so hard and make it a more catchable ball. McVeigh is tackled behind the line of scrimmage. Wally Buono, I guess, does some snorkeling in his spare time, and he related his own experiences under the water to what Danny Barrett might be going through in a maturing process as a quarterback.
Well, that story was that when he was snorkeling, he had to get over a specific reef to get to the other side, and he couldn't get by the bubbles, but when he did, he saw the fish and all what was going on. He said it's like Danny Barrett. Now he sees things very clearly downfield, maybe even a little bit slower, which will allow him to make the right reads and the good decisions that he's made up to this point.
He can see clearly now, to paraphrase a song, and that proves it.
25-yard pass from Danny Barrett to Marshall Boner. Stampeder touchdown.
There might be a good chance here that Danny Barrett, once getting to the line of scrimmage, as you can see, takes a little bit more time. Make sure everyone knows the backs are going. They're going into that gone formation. A little bit of confusion maybe by Chris Gaines on what to do, but there was no confusion downfield by Marshall Toner, who was being covered by Darrell Ford. The pass was there, and the execution again was there.
There it is, the score, and if you've watched this all night, you know exactly why. Calgary is way in front.
The Argos.
One more kickoff by Mark McLaughlin, and Mike Clemens is getting a lot of practice at this. You'd never know it by watching him fumble around now, and he's back down at the 15-yard line. Well, Danny Barrett, an experienced quarterback. Now let's listen and then watch the last touchdown.
It's nice when you can see something at the line of scrimmage and call the right play. And on the other end, just getting the ball seems to be a difficult thing right now.
Well, the Argos will try to put this game, unless it changes dramatically, into the best possible light. And I guess we shouldn't forget that Matt Dunnigan is not playing, and John Congemi is, though it didn't matter against Ottawa. Congemi played well, and I think you feel that maybe what's happening tonight can't be laid at the feet of the quarterback.
Oh, I think that's exactly right.
You know, apart from everything else that the Stampeders are doing well, they appear to be having as much fun as you can have playing the game of football.
Well, right now Clemens is down, but I think that's the key, Dave, having some fun. They've talked about, they being the players, that Wally Buono comes in with a good attitude. There's no fooling around. You're here to play football. That's what you're supposed to be doing. That's what you get paid for. But the more fun you have, the more you're going to win.
Well, a potentially serious situation for the Argos is Mike Clemens, who has been a big part of what little offense they've had tonight, is down. And let's say this, he does have a history of injury, though Don Matthews feels that he's durable enough to get the ball as much as he does get it.
Well, he's holding a leg that he has you might be able to see right there, a brace on. And here's the play. Clemens steps inside, a little bit of a fake, try to hide, and he does that. But watch the pursuit. A little bit of hesitation here to kick outside. Watch the right leg. Clausy makes the hit, and he just seems to couple underneath the weight.
Mike Clemens has caught 7 passes in this game, and he has rushed the ball 7 times. He has also been back on kick returns and punt returns, and the Stampeders haven't been afraid to kick him the ball. In fact, they seem to be aiming it at Clemens, certainly in the kickoffs.
Well, you have to have confidence in your own special teams and believe that they can go down and cover anybody. And they have done that tonight. And they've done a pretty good job of containing him on offense, too, because he's tough. He can give defenses fits. But right now the concern is how that left knee of Mike Clemens is.
Well, the Argos are third down, deep in their own zone, and they're not well at all. The score 38-10 in Calgary's favor. Stampeders might want to shoot at that total of 57 that the Eskimos put on the board the other night, and Calgary is looking at a game in Edmonton next Tuesday. Anybody who thought, though, the Stampeders might look past this one would have been dead wrong. Eddie Brown showing good speed and almost got outside, got into Argo territory. Next Tuesday, BC at Saskatchewan with special coverage of that Calgary-Edmonton game for you viewers on the Canadian Football Network. And I don't know that Bobby Jurison and the Saskatchewan Roughriders or the BC Lions will be too happy with what's going on lately. The loser of that game will be last in the West. The BC Lions are there now, but could vault past Saskatchewan by beating the Riders at Taylor Field. Barrett for Pitts, and he's out of bounds. Still trying for it, though. Danny will have a chuckle on that one. Alan Pitts has been described as Calgary's version of David Williams. Built the same way, has the same style, and isn't yet as well known or as successful as the Ottawa Rough Rider and former Shenley winner, but this guy is contributing here in Calgary.
Well, he's also another player that didn't play football last year. Seems to be a prerequisite for the receivers of Calgary. Last year, he was working as an accountant at the University of Southern California, but still had that desire to play football.
Second down, and the Stampeders are not conservative in the least. They throw the ball, that's incomplete, and while we're talking about Dunnigan being out, the Stampeders have done this, 38 points, without their starting tailback, and they found out they weren't going to have him about an hour before the game, and that has changed, I would assume, a lot of what they would have done offensively.
Possibly, or maybe the key is they didn't make a lot of changes, maybe a couple of subtle ones, but maybe they didn't try to make any great changes. They had the confidence, or Danny Barrett had the confidence in the guys he had lining up behind him, and then just went ahead and executed the things they'd done all week.
And the positive change is that Derek Crawford got to catch the ball more than he would have otherwise. Tadich's punt rolls out of bounds at the 21-yard line. You're watching Molson Canadian Football Network.
1-yard line, a 34-yard punt for Tadich. Argos football, first and 10.
Next to Jim Duncan, Jack Goda coached the Calgary Stampeders more than anybody else in the late 70s and again in the early 80s, and he has to like what the Stampeders of Wally Buono are doing here tonight in this season, on their way to another win tonight, it would seem. Conjemi's arm pulled as he throws an incompletion, and Kent Warnock has been there a lot. These Stampeders are not a blitzing team, and one reason is they get the pressure from the front four.
Well, that certainly sets up their coverage. Their linebackers don't have to come, so they can drop and really take away that middle area. There's Warnock going around, puts that big left paw and pulls down Conjemi. We saw Mike Clemens a minute or so ago. He's back in the lineup.
Andrew Murray, who has been the most productive receiver for the Argos in this game, that is receiver, slot back, or wide man. And Don Matthews enduring this one. From the Argos standpoint, the hurry-up offense badly needed now when you're down 28 points midway through the third quarter, and they'd use it anyway, of course.
Dave, there has been an adjustment in the offensive line. Bob Skemp, 64, went out a couple of series ago. He's being replaced by Blaine Schmidt, 54.
And Demi again is under a rush by that front four. We should say that Stu Laird, who, when he plays very well, isn't good enough to play regularly for Calgary now. And they've got three excellent defensive linemen who don't even put the uniform on. Zareko Zizakovic, Harold Hasselback, and Lou Cafazo. And there is some trade interest around the league, one would think, in any or all of those players.
Well, the other reason they're not playing is their names are too long to go in the back of the sweater.
Smelly. Look at the pursuit by Ken Ford and the support by Dave McCrary.
tell you what, if we haven't seen Warnock or Laird or Johnson hustling, Ford's done this a couple times this evening, coming across, making the read. Here's the read right there, coming up to that one side, a quick dump. There's 97 Ford. The blocking is downfield, but you can't underestimate the quickness of be it Clausey or Ford to come underneath the play and make the tackle.
Wally Buono told us he got into a bit of trouble with his wife the other day when he called the Stampeders an average team. I think his wife might win the argument tonight.
It's all psychology.
Eddie Brown. 7:17 to go.
We want to get 100 if we can.
In the East, the Ottawa Rough Riders sit alone in last place. Dean Dorsey missed a field goal late in the game that could have won it. Hamilton did, 31-30. And here where Ken Ford wants 100 if the Calgary Stampeders can get that far. They have 38 of them so far against the Toronto Argos. Eddie Brown. First down for the Stamps. They've got enough time to get, let's say, to 50 without any trouble.
Bill Blanchard at right guard. He's up and quickly moving out for that quick screen. It's one of the reasons they're playing him at that spot rather than tackles of last year, because his ability to run and move quickly. And he missed a couple of games because of an elbow injury, not a hyperextension, but one that damaged the muscle around the backside. And what it does is it restricts the movement, and that's a knee brace. So it gives you an idea how big his arm is. That would fit your knee, Dave.
I'll take that little bit of information to bed with me tonight.
And there's it working at its best. He also can't straighten it, but as I said, the concern is not being able to pull it all the way up. And he missed a couple games, but as Wally Buono said, if we had rushed him back, we might have lost him for more, because it's a relatively painful injury. And the offensive linemen, if they haven't got that strength in their upper body and the ability to use their arms, they can really be ineffective.
At this rate, Danny Barrett might not see the end of this game. Terrence Jones should get some playing time. Barrett's still in there now. Barrett out of bounds just on Toronto's side of midfield. Now he's an ex-Argo, remember, and Darrell Smith is well aware of that. Look at Barrett's face.
Well, you know, no matter what they had said to him, I think he'd come away smiling. I wonder how long it will be before Terrence Jones gets a ball out of the ball bag and starts warming up.
Brent Matic averaging more than 43 yards coming into the game, just over 40. Hasn't boomed one yet. And the Argos jump, unless drawn, offside, and this could mean that the Stampeders will keep the ball.
I guess the call isn't as easy as we may have thought.
Well, one team or the other. It is against the Argos, and now the question is it a first down? It looks to be. Calgary offense returning to the field. Same with the Argo defense. They want to be sure, though. It is a first down.
It'll be first down, Stampede.
Defense number 63, first down.
With the score of the Stamps 38 and the Argos 10, we'll pause 10 seconds for stations from coast to coast to identify themselves. You're watching the Molson Canadian Football Network.
Andy McVeigh, the ball carrier for the
Flags
Stamps.
are down as we come back. Andy McVeigh running the ball for the Stampeders. Still a long way to the end of this game, and I know it's easy to say that the Stampeders have it locked up, but the football still has to be played, and you wonder just how the teams will approach the last 25 minutes of this game.
This situation for a football team is a pretty good test also. I think that as a coach, you want your team to go out and continue and play at the same level of intensity they did for the first three quarters, not back off. And that doesn't mean trying to run up the score to 100 like Ford wants it to be, but try to move the ball and try to accomplish things. Don't sit back on your lead.
It's only 20 minutes. I tried to run up the time, I'm sorry. 20 minutes of football left, and here's Derek Crawford again, adding to his great night. That is, I believe, his 5th catch. He has a touchdown and a long return to set up another TD.
Well, that play can't be successful unless there's a lot of hustle from other players, McVeigh being one of them. He'll go out, Marshall Toner's out there, number 18, Alan Pitts. Everyone gets a shoulder on somebody.
Barrett threw it behind Eddie Brown. And Brent Maddich will come on, and he'll get a chance to punt this time.
Well, in a sprint situation, the Argos have been moving their linebacker, Chris Gaines, with no responsibility but to come, get to where the pocket is going to, and then blitz. Takes a pretty good shot on a block from McVeigh. That's what you have to do. You have to get them down so they can't jump and put their hands in the face of the quarterback.
It's not Mike Clemens, but rather Darrell Smith back to receive the punt, and it's blocked, and the Argos could get a life here. They're going to have possession of the ball one way or the other. In a good shape to go in and score some points. So a block punt the other way.
You can see that wave of pressure come up. Looks like everything was pretty much on course, maybe a little bit slow. But the block came right up the middle. Don Wilson tries to take a swing at it. Now it's just who can get their hands on it. Darcy Kopp, McVeigh. But ultimately, in that dive right there, it becomes an Argo ball by Van Bellingham.
First down for the Calgary 18. First real mistake of that kind that the Stampeders have made all night. And Demi throws it too low. The intended receiver is Boyd. Still looking for his first catch.
You gotta keep fighting, baby. We got a chance still. Hey, Mom, Dad, family, I love you, baby. You gotta keep coming. Jessica!
The 1989 Canadian Bowl champion Calgary Bulls will return to the playing field this Saturday.
Kelvin Prunster down.
Their home opener, their regular season home opener against the always tough Regina.
And you know, the way things have gone in the CFL this year, there's a reason, or there are reasons for Pleasant to have that kind of enthusiasm, because a couple of big plays can get them back in this football game. It's a longer shot than normal, mind you, but
one thing that has helped the Stampeders this season is the absence of key injuries, or shall we say serious injuries to key performers. They've had Danny Barrett's been hurt, and Will Johnson has been out, but nobody for any length of time. And in fact, their lineup here tonight is almost identical to the one that we saw in their league opener, the tie against the BC Lions, 38-38. And that always helps when you keep everybody playing, the units together, and your key performers on the field.
Well, 18 games takes a toll on your players, and with the limited roster, you're right, you have to be a little bit lucky, but at the same time, I think what you have to have is some depth. The Eskimos have had it for years. That's one of the reasons they've been as successful as they have, that when a key player goes down, as an example, Blake Marshall couldn't dress the other night, Chris Johnstone steps in. Michael Souls is there, Walling. I mean, they're deep in talented people. I think Calgary has that same type of advantage. Maybe not quite as deep as some other teams, but then you need to be a little bit luckier, as you said, and not get those injuries.
Well, we talked about their Canadian defensive linemen who have not been able to crack the roster, and who are good players, and the Stampeders think very highly of the Hasselbecks and Zizakovics and Cafazos, and if they need them, yes, they're there. So the offensive line banged up for the Argos. Skemp was out, now Prunster, Jim Kardash in. The Argos is 2nd and 10, and you'd think they'd go on 3rd and 10 if necessary. Jemmy for the touchdown to Darrell Smith. Only his second catch, and it is a touchdown. Third catch, right.
Wally Bono said before the game that if we get in too many man situations with the talent the Argos have as a receiver, it could be suicide. This is tough. Darrell Smith is a one-on-one with Greg Peterson. There's no one in the middle to help Peterson out. Smith makes that cut, gets Peterson looking just a little bit to one side, and the ball's on the way before that cut's made.
Tomic with a convert. The Argos are down 3 touchdowns with still almost 3.5 minutes left in the third quarter.
McCrary starts in the middle but moves to the left, and Kangemi makes that read. He knows where they're going. And maybe Smith just makes a slight adjustment to break off early because of that open area. Good
now those
check.
who have to play against the Argos and their coach Don Matthews would watch here for something funny in the kickoff. The Argos trying to build on some momentum. Either a short kick straight up the middle by Tomic or maybe one to the sidelines high up, and a little game of volleyball in the end of it. Let's see whether the Argos have that in mind. The Stampeders think so. They're moving everybody up, everybody really except Hopkins. And they'll kick it to him. Ron Hopkins, the leader, with an average of 31 yards per kickoff return. Didn't get that much yardage on that occasion, but certainly got what was there. Nothing fancy about what he does with the kickoff returns, but he's very effective.
Well, they really only have, as Wally Bono's told us, one return. And then there are different options based on the wedge leading him and what the read goes from Hopkins.
Our turn now to get a turnover.
John Kangemi has thrown a lot to Michael Clemens, and now has thrown a touchdown to Darrell Smith. Barrett throws it out to Brown, and Reggie Pleasance on top of him, preventing the first down.
Now's the time for the Argo defense to come up and give John Kangemi an opportunity possibly to take advantage of some of the things Matt Dunnigan has just been talking to him about.
Well, you heard Dunnigan say always a positive word for John Kangemi, and he's reminding Kangemi that there's plenty of time left in this game. The way the Argos can score, the way their offense is designed to move, they can score 3 touchdowns in over a quarter of football. Barrett will get the first down, and a lot more. Braisley falls on him. Stampeders don't look as though they're through moving the ball for points, though.
Well, quarterback draw. They've got that gone formation. All the receivers are out to the wide side. The Argos cover that and only leave a middle linebacker. That linebacker blitzes. Leo Blanchard, Tom Spallettini open a nice gap for him, and up he goes.
To the 46-yard line of the Argos. First down, Calgary. Barrett intended it for Brown. It's been a while since we've seen the Stampeders actually use a running play with McVeigh or anybody else back there. And we'll only know when the game is over, but I do think they had to alter their game plan with the absence of Keevan Jenkins.
A lot of people might think that their blocking will be better with the backs that they have in now, but according to the coaching staff, Keevan Jenkins may be their best blocker.
3 receivers left and 3 receivers right. Barrett will throw this time. And here's another turnover. Look out. The Argos can be right back in it. Chris Gaines to the 20-yard line and inside it. And we're not in the fourth quarter yet. The Argos score here, and it's a game once more.
Well, from that formation, it almost looks like Barrett is limping just a slight bit.
And a roughing penalty against the Stampeders will put the Argos closer to the end zone.
Again, no backs, short drop, and he wires that ball out there, hits McVeigh in the chest. And of course, converging on the ball, a good defensive team goes to that ball, and Gaines has done that this evening, but this time there was a reward for him.
I want to compare this to the Argos game in Winnipeg again, because it was an awful first half for Toronto. The Argos did come back in that game, though, and have a chance to win it before losing, and here they are, creeping back into this one. And Jemmy over the shoulder of Clemens, threw it a little too hard, perhaps. So second down now for the Argos, and still a minute left in the third quarter. The largest lead the Stampeders had was 28 points not that long ago, and the Argos, with a score here, can cut it in half in the space of just a couple of minutes. Jemmy over the middle. Clausey has done this twice tonight. The turnovers brought the Argos back into the game and now have stalled them, as that is their sixth turnover.
Wally Bono said Clausey will get better with experience. This is the second time, and it may be exactly the same play that he picked off. There's 60 right in the middle of your screen. Watch him wait. Now he's dropping to the one side. He's making the read, and he cuts in front of Clemens. I like it right here. He drops his shoulder into Schultz here. Wow. There you go. Deliver a blow.
Both interceptions in the end zone, so he has prevented a couple of touchdowns, if you want to look at it that way.
Well, the homies back in Utah.
Barrett, a swing pass to McVeigh, and he's stopped for no gain.
McVeigh, Danny Barrett's pass complete to Andy McVeigh.
I think it's Kajemi suggesting that keep taking your road upfield instead of cutting across, and he'll throw the ball over instead of trying to zip it in.
Be a good idea.
Yeah, not a bad idea at all.
Throwing it with Clausey in the area doesn't work. Barrett, and he overthrows Eddie Brown, and there's something about this league this season that a big lead doesn't hold because the team just can't seem to sustain that kind of play. Stampeders take a 21-point lead to the fourth quarter. Brent Maddich had his last punt blocked, and that's certainly on his mind as he prepares to take the snap. Darrell Smith again deep, and not Michael Clemens for the Argos. Maddich without trouble, and that's probably his best punt of the night. Smith over the shoulder has trouble. And now some room. Flag down, though. Darrell Smith out past the 40-yard line, but it's coming back a long way.
55-yard punt by Brent Maddich, return 26 by Darrell Smith, but there is a flag down on the play.
Well, the general rule is, as a return team, if you can't get your head and shoulders in front of the man, back off and don't even try to block him. Mazzotti right there. You just might as well pass him up.
It's pretty obvious that he did hit him.
Illegal block, number 88, Toronto. Objectionable conduct, number 88, Toronto.
But obviously,
First down.
Mazzotti doesn't think it's so obvious because he argued with the call, and that's another penalty against the Argos, who are the most penalized team in the league coming into this game. They're back at their 4-yard line now. Jemmy threw it too high. Clemens still in the game, though, as we've told you, he is not returning punts, which must mean he's not 100%, and we have seen reason for that. Jimmy throws on the run again, too high, and the coverage is excellent on Trumaine Johnson, who's been shut out in the pass receiving department. The Stampeders send on Mr. Crawford again to return a punt.
Stu Laird is lined up to the side where Jimmy wants to get to. You have to take that corner. I've mentioned it before. You have to seal it off to get your quarterback to the outside. And Stu Laird, thinking he had a pretty good shot, that shot was taken away when Dan Ferroni came back and put him down.
Crawford is one man back, and Eddie Brown is the other. A watch from behind Glenn Harper, and that's Derek Crawford way at the other end. And it's a good punt, and Brown is going to get it. And Eddie Brown does his imitation of Derek Crawford and goes to the 40-yard line. The ball came loose, but after the whistle. And so the Stampeders, again with their return teams giving them excellent field position, go to the attack. Danny Barrett still in the game.
If Brown doesn't bump into his own players, he might very well have gone further. But that shows you everyone hustling back, trying to make a block. And you know your returner can do it any time. It's just gives you some incentive.
3 more numbers and make the play to an Alberta Lottery Ticket Center.
The Argo assistant coaches, Adam Rita, the guy who is in charge of the offense, along with the head coach.
Mike Levenseller works with the receivers. Used to play as a receiver in Edmonton. It was a good one, too.
Stampeders, John Huffnagel has added a lot, according to the observers here. Former Stampeder quarterback, and Tom Higgins has a lot to do with the success of that defense, especially the guys up front.
And says one thing they are in is shape. He worked them very hard in training camp and knows how important a well-conditioned front four has to be.
Keith Costello is the injured Argonaut. With 13:51 to go. Good crowd on hand at McMahon Stadium, and the Stampeders are treating them to another fine performance. Wally Buono says we don't need big stars here making a lot of money. We just need a team that goes out and plays good, solid football. That's what the people of Calgary want. And that's what they're getting this season. Barrett to Crawford. Some more yards beside his name. Close to a first down.
Wally Buono really emphasizes effort. He uses, and he was quoted by saying that you can't play on this football team unless you can play on special teams. That means having the desire to want to go out and play special teams along with your normal job of running back or linebacker. That doesn't mean you're going to play them all, but you have to want it because it's an important part of the football game, and as it's shown tonight, it's even more important for the Stampeders.
Second down a yard. They put 3 backs behind Barrett, and he'll take it himself for the first down to the 30-yard line.
Danny Barrett keeps the ball himself, and he will pick up a Stampeder first down. Elsewhere in the CFL tonight, the Hamilton Tiger Cats 31 and the Ottawa Rough Riders 30. Final score.
Barrett, to me, is showing a few signs of being tired. It's been a long evening so far, and I think he's taken some shots. And you can often tell by how quickly he gets back to the huddle and how quickly he gets to the line of scrimmage when he breaks the huddle.
Well, I think they'd like to score here, and then you would see Terrence Jones. Barrett for Smith, and Brock Smith will have the Stampeders first and goal. There's another shot on Danny Barrett. 2 Argos, Hallman and Parker responsible for that.
But he's standing in there. He knows Smith's going to be open, and talk about being patient, and he gets hammered from both sides. Tell you what, they better get some more padding for his ribs because he's taking some shots tonight, but continues to stand in. and doesn't let that pressure influence his decision of where he's throwing the ball downfield.
Well, he's 7 yards away from coming out. I think the Stampeders would like to score here. Barrett also pretty close to a 300-yard game passing. On first down, he throws it, and a bit of a dangerous pass in that situation. It'll be second down.
Barry on the corner, we haven't heard much from him tonight, but he comes up quickly right here. Almost like a pick. He does a good job of avoiding the interference in front of him and moving in front of Alan Pitts to knock the ball down.
Second and goal, Calgary from the 7-yard line. Too much time is taken by Danny Barrett and the Calgary offense. They'll pay 5 yards for that, and it'll be second down and 12.
Now you're seeing the play being signaled in, and according to the head coach, Wally Buono, it's a draw.
That's it, Andy McVeigh up the middle, and he won't get the touchdown. Reaching for the 5-yard line, so they will settle for 3 points from Mark McLaughlin if he can make them and put the Stampeders over the 40 mark.
Well, an active evening for middle linebacker Chris Gaines. The hole's there for a second. Blanchard comes out, cuts Gaines. As you see Blanchard get up, shake his hand, he knew he should have gone a little bit higher because Gaines took the block, vaulted over, and just fell in front of McVeigh. As Hallman is down.
Just 10.5 minutes to go. Don Matthews, I'm sure, knows it's a long shot, but hasn't forgotten about the idea of the Argos getting back into this game.
Well, Hallman was part of the play. He's coming in from the one side, and Gaines flipping over. You see him just to the left there. Now watch him fall in, 70 right there. But it almost seemed like when Gaines came over, there was some contact. Looks like in the middle of the back, just below where the shoulder pads go.
Harold Hallman, an Argo now, a Stampeder then. There are some ex-Stampeders on this Toronto Argo team. Dan Ferroni up front, and the list is a fairly long one. Next week, here's what's happening in the CFL. BC at Saskatchewan. They're already talking about the Calgary-Edmonton game in both Alberta cities. Winnipeg plays at Hamilton, and that's a rather important game as far as the East Division standings are concerned. And the Argos will go to Ottawa, where the pressure remains on the Rough Riders, and will be on the Argos too after this game if the score holds up. Hallman getting up now and obviously doesn't feel very good. You know, if Calgary wins tonight, and this isn't the way they'll look at it in Calgary, I know, but if they win tonight, even if they lose next week in Edmonton, they're still in first place in the West.
Yeah, but you know as well as I do, no matter what Calgary does, they've got to beat Edmonton.
Well, that had put them 5 in front, so that's the way they'll look at it in Calgary. But it's not a bad bit of security to realize that they can go to Edmonton and be a first-place team no matter what happens.
Well, it's a confidence factor. I don't just mean beat Edmonton next week. I mean having the knowledge and the confidence to go in there, because ultimately, if they do well, seems like history repeats itself. Edmonton's always, or most of the time, in that final.
They have the usual back-to-back series around the Labor Day weekend too, the Stamps and the Eskimos, and we'll have both of those games for you on the Canadian Football Network, so they'll get to know each other a lot up near the top of those standings. Molson and the Canadian Football Network are proud to bring you the best in the CFL. In addition to everything else that Calgary has done well, we shouldn't forget that Mark McLaughlin is 4 for 4 in field goals. But 12 of their 41 points have come that way. Jemmy again to Andrew Murray.
Jemmy's pass completes Andrew Murray.
Murray has seemed to be a favorite this evening. John Kangemi's, maybe it's because he's getting open. Again, a quick slant. Little fake to Clemens, holds the linebackers. They don't get a chance to drop too deep. It gives Kangemi a better area, or more area, to throw the ball into.
Fourth catch for Murray in this game. They tried him again. Stampeders claim an interception. He won't get it.
Well, you keep coming after the quarterback. Of course, you don't have to tell Kent Warnock that, because he's going to do that even after the game's over.
Darryl Hall back providing.
Bonnie gets knocked down by his own man. And I was looking for a way to be better. That's Warnock's sweater, and that's the seam on the side, and that's spandex, a material that's very stretchy. Those holes are so you can lace it up and make the sweater even tighter.
Interference will be called, and that'll be a first down for the Argos at the 35-yard line of the Stampeders. Daryl Smith got up angry and now knows that the officials spotted what was wrong.
Incomplete, but there is a flag down as well.
Forward pass interference, number 97, Calgary. First down.
Almost like hitchhiking. Ford just hops on the back of Daryl Smith coming across. Knew he couldn't catch up with him. There he is. It's like a fifth wheeler.
Kangemi to Clemens, and he beats 3 men and a fourth. He's back to normal now. First down at the 20.
Well, you can take a pretty good shot if you're a defensive player and you miss Clemens the first time. If you get up quickly enough, you'll still see him standing. Ford goes for the shot right here. You're gonna get back up and get back into the play.
And Jemmy to the end zone, and just a little too far for Daryl Smith.
Kangemi's pass in the end zone intended for Daryl Smith.
Seemed like Kangemi looked a little bit left the first time where his number 1 read should be, and then came back very quickly. And you can see from his reaction that he knew that play was there, and a little bit off that ball, and Daryl Smith has another one.
Eight and a half minutes left in the fourth quarter. The Argos need a lot of points in a hurry. Kangemi tried to get 6 of them now. He throws it up, and again, too far for Murray. Kangemi, I think it's fair to say, has not thrown the ball as well tonight as he did against Ottawa.
I think that's a fair assessment. I also think that he has faced tighter coverage where he's had to put the ball in better places. Like the last 2, if the ball wasn't in the right spot, it's no catch because the coverage was so tight from behind.
Paul Mazzotti in for Andrew Murray, and Murray is late leaving. Kangemi's down. Stoulard with a sack. Stoulard.
Well, Dave, you mentioned earlier about Stoulard filling in for Will Johnson last game. When he gets a chance to play, he just likes to add to his sack total.
Ball over on downs. No thought of kicking field goals now, and the Stampeders take over at their 30-yard line, and Danny Barrett is still the quarterback. Stamps with a 24-point lead with less than 8 minutes to go. No move to Terrence Jones yet. Barrett throwing for a bundle over the head of Eddie Brown.
Stoulard is a full-time firefighter here in the city of Calgary and understands that he usually and may be backing up a lot of this year, but with Walter Ballard out with cramps, he's in and going full speed, and that freshness now can make a big difference in a pass rush along that defensive line.
Matthew, Pam, that's for you.
Well, the Argos are thinking about changing quarterbacks. Tom Porras, another ex-Stampeder, warming up. Down the middle for Toner, and a good catch by Marshall Toner puts the ball into Argo territory. The Stampeders averaging 40.5 points per game, and There they are, right on the average, as close as you can get to it, 41 tonight.
Barrett continues to make the right reads downfield. I think he has a choice here. John Fields, the safety's playing in the middle, but again, Danny Barrett has to throw and take the shot. I think he's going to be a sore quarterback tomorrow morning.
And they don't have long to get ready for the big game in Edmonton next Tuesday.
Really didn't have a whole lot of time to get prepared for this one either.
Here's a running play that we haven't seen lately. Andy McVeigh carrying the ball past the Argonauts 50. And I think now we have reached the point where both teams know that the Stampeders will win and the Argos will lose, and it's a matter of getting to the end of it as safely as possible.
And possibly for the Stampeders to use some people in positions that might not normally get a lot of game time and give them that game experience.
Might have been a different fourth quarter, though, if Joe Clausey hadn't picked off his second pass in the end zone late in the third quarter when the Argos looked to have a chance to cut the lead to 14. Barrett to Pitts. Coverage on him is good by Ed Berry, and Alan Pitts is shaken up. Well, a little slow to get up, somebody said. Well, he is limping.
I'm sorry, Dave, when an offensive line comes up to the line of scrimmage, they have to pick out and see what the blitzes are going to be, and then get ready for some impact and possibly move away off one block and go to another if, in fact, there's some changing going on.
There's the receiver, Alan Pitts, favoring the left knee. Mark McLaughlin is in for a long field goal, trying to be 5 for 5. Barrett, the holder, going to put it down at the 51-yard line to improve a perfect record or maybe to spoil it. Wide, and out they come. That's Carl Brazeley. Out of bounds at the 12-yard line. The lead remains 24 points. The Stampeders took control of this game in the second quarter with 24 points. Joe Clausey's had 2 big interceptions. Derek Crawford, a big factor. And the Calgary defense has been after John Congemi all night long. Now they'll go after Tom Porras. He hits Clemens.
Tom Porras to Mike Clemens, complete. It will be
Tom Porras will look at the same rush that Congemi has been looking at, and it's been primarily a 4-man rush. The damage on pressure has been done by that front four: Ballard, Price, Warnock, Johnson, and Stu Laird when he's been in there.
Porras, a short pass designed to pick up the first down only, and I don't think the Stampeders will mind a bit.
It is a first down, Argo.
Except maybe Terrence Jones, who wants to get into the game.
And in the worst way, you can bet.
And he will. He's been throwing on the sidelines, and Danny Barrett's through for the night. Porras threw into a traffic jam. That would be fair to say.
Pass intended for Andrew Murray. It is incomplete. It's second down, Argos.
Have to continue to discuss what has gone on in the field, and Congemi there just to the one side of Matt Dunnigan. Both are probably having a difficult time staying up and enthusiastic now. It's the worst time of a football game when you're down like this and you know there's little chance to come back.
Andrew Murray again at the 50-yard line.
Porras complete to Andrew Murray, finally brought down by Greg Peterson. First down, Argos.
As for Dunnigan's return, the Argos will talk about him being ready next week in Ottawa. They thought he had a chance to play last week against the Rough Riders. But I guess that was overstated. There wasn't really a chance for Dunnigan to perform in that game or in this one. And he says he's feeling better today, really, for the first time. Not feeling the stiffness in his injured knee.
I think it was a case where his knee responded very quickly in the first few days, and they were being optimistic, hoping he would be back for the Ottawa game. In fact, I guess that improvement sort of slowed down and it's just maintained at a slower pace. It's been frustrating for everyone, most of all Matt Dunnigan.
But of course, Dunnigan doesn't play defense, and he wouldn't have been able to do much about the 41 points that the Stampeders had scored. Doesn't cover punts or kickoff.
Oh, you're right. I'm sure he'd like to try it sometime.
Forrest on the run. Well short of a first down. Second down Argos with 3:05 to go.
Second down Argos.
Tom Matthews describing Tom Porras as a quarterback who got a pretty good arm.
Less than 3 minutes till the end of this one. The Argos are second down and 5 from the Stampeder 45. Forrest throws it low, and it's third down, and Glenn Harper can forget a punt. Lance Chomick can forget a field goal. Terrence Jones still readying himself for some duty tonight. The Molson MVP will be chosen following the game. Little hint is that it'll be a Stampeder.
But lots to choose from. Been some outstanding efforts this evening, individually and as a unit.
Well, they've met their offensive average, and we shouldn't forget about the defense holding the Argos to 17 points, which is better than average for Calgary defense or any defense in this league. Third down gamble doesn't work for the Argos, and so the Stampeders have the ball, and here comes Terrence Jones to quarterback them.
Well, I'll touch again on the fact that the Stampeders have been able to put a majority of the pressure that they've had on the quarterbacks, first with Kangemi, obviously, and the latter part with Porras, was simply 4 people. Combining that with good coverage downfield, they've put some stress on the Toronto quarterbacks this evening.
Jones gives the ball to Spolatini, and Tony runs it to the 50-yard line. Ground attack makes sense here to run out the clock. Danny Barrett finishes with a 300-yard game. Now, the Stampeders, even though they had been unbeaten, have normally been outpassed by their opponents. In fact, on an average of 75 yards per game, which is a bit surprising. But tonight, they can look good in the pass yardage stats. Jones, and he saw the receiver, pumped once, and maybe should have thrown it the first time to David Sapungis, who was open for the moment.
Well, I think that pump and looking to the direction allowed Carl Braisley, the wily veteran that he is, to react to the quarterback movement and get over, and he's the reason that ball was not completed.
Brent Madich will punt to Darrell Smith. Madich's night spoiled a bit by a block punt. Flags are down. And Smith watches the ball settle at the 8-yard line. Another flag for no yards.
Well, there's flags all over the field. I think Madich was roughed. There was offside, no yards. Enough flags for a parade.
Well, at least for a conference, and that's what they'll have to have here to sort all this out with 2:08 to go. Stampeders 4-0-1, and they know, and we'll remind you that they probably should have won the game they tied. They had a couple of chances to win it with a field goal that Mark McLaughlin missed, and had to settle for an overtime tie against the BC Lions. But they'll take 4-0-1 and say thank you very much, with first place in the West by 3 points over Edmonton.
I don't think there's any question of that. And it's not that they haven't earned it, because they've played good, solid, disciplined football, realizing that it is just the start of the season and there's a long way to go.
Well, we have time to give you 58 points or so and how they've happened. McLaughlin started it with 2 field goals. And then Brent Matic a single for 7-0, and that's all in the first quarter. Then Clemens tied it up. The Stampeders took the lead for good on a run by Andy McVeigh, and then Derek Crawford went to work his 71-yard punt return for a touchdown. Another McLaughlin field goal. And an Argo field goal by Lance Chomick. Crawford's long kick return set up this touchdown by Brock Smith, 21-point lead at the half. In the third quarter, Marshall Toner caught a 25-yard pass from Danny Barrett. Then the Argos came back with a Darrell Smith touchdown and almost another one, except Joe Clausey intercepted in the end zone. And in the fourth quarter, Mark McLaughlin has kicked his fourth field goal. He missed a long one, trying for 5 in a row. And what about the penalties now?
Contacting the kicker against Toronto. No yards. 5-yard penalty against Calgary. They're going to redo it.
Now there was another penalty.
Yes, there was.
You forgot one.
The first flag came from some movement from Calgary.
Right here. The flag was dropped there.
Far left of the screen.
And we heard about the other two. This one.
Number 2.
And the no yards. Stampeders on third down make a first down. And whatever happened to the first flag, we'll never know. And we won't care a whole lot about it either.
No, you're right. It took them long enough to figure it out. Not that I blame them, because it can't be easy with players yapping at you from either side. You get a little bit of a quiet moment to figure out what the heck had gone on.
Terrence Jones gets to play some more because of all those flags and the fact the Stampeders have kept the ball. Tim Petros carries it. So the official record can show that he did play in this game.
Tim Petros, the ball carrier.
After it was supposed to be a night at the restaurant.
Well, a funny way to get into the lineup earlier on, even before he went over to his dad's restaurant to help out there. He was on a radio talk show, and a question was posed. When are you going to get in the lineup? He figures, I don't know, I guess when there's an injury. And from there he goes over to Nick's Steakhouse, where his dad needs some help, and then he gets the emergency phone call, and lo and behold, he's getting taped up for this game.
Terrence Jones complete to Eddie Brown.
Eddie Brown with a first down catch. Wouldn't you like to have been somebody who was in the restaurant being served by Tim, paid the bill, came to the game, and saw him playing?
I think it'd be fantastic.
Wally Buono has put the headset down and chalked up the victory. Could have done it long ago, maybe even at halftime. Petros again.
Well, the reason Petros wasn't ready for the start of the season is because of a knee injury that had lingered from last year. The knee injury's taken an awful long time to recover 100%, because typically a player, when he starts to feel healthy enough, pushes the injury, and it takes a little bit longer. I can tell you from experience, that's what you want to do, because you want to get back.
One more story about Petros. The Stampeders were allowed to make the change, late as it was, Petros for Jenkins, because the change was made earlier than 1 hour prior to kickoff. If they had found out about Jenkins' injury later than that, in other words, within the hour before the game had started, they would have needed the league's permission and the Argos' permission to change their announced roster, and the Argos have let it be known they wouldn't have given it.
Well, I asked Mike McCarthy before the game started to really clarify the situation. And as you said, they'd have to go to the league first, and I don't think there's any question, because of the circumstances with Keevan Jenkins and how quickly it happened, that they'd give him the approval. But I don't think it would take Mike McCarthy a second to decide. He said, no way. Not that I blame him either.
That's just the way things have gone for the Stampeders, though. They lose a key performer at the last minute, and it doesn't bother them a bit. Brazeley down on one knee. It's a 42nd Calgary point with 40 seconds left. We don't want to confuse you, but 42-17.
additional point, 40 seconds left in the ball game.
44 seconds remaining. Improving the average just a bit. Forrest setting up the screen. Clemens still in there for some action. Dragging people past the 50-yard line with 31 seconds to go. The Argos lost twice to Calgary last year. And the Stampeders are making a bit of a habit of beating the Argos. They really roughed up Conjemi at the Sky Dome, if I remember, and Calgary won easily here by something like 20 points a year ago. But it's a new season and a new staff here in Calgary, some new players. And the Stampeders will do more than beat the Argos, it seems, if they keep playing like this.
Don Matthews had mentioned before the game, and we had suggested that he wanted to get the ball into Mike Clemens' hand more. Well, that's the 11th catch of the evening.
Forrest on the scramble out at the 40-yard line with 7 seconds left. I think it's still a bit difficult to get a good reading on the Argo team that had such a reputation coming out of the exhibition season with 60 points in a game against Hamilton. The Argos have beaten the Ticats again in the regular season, and they've beaten the Ottawa Rough Riders. But I don't think they played a superb game either time, and otherwise they've suffered defeats. Bad one in Winnipeg. Another bad one here at Calgary. I think there's potential here, but the Argos clearly have not lived up to their billing.
And I think the Argos will agree that they're not 100% in firing on all cylinders unless they have Matt Dunnigan. In all fairness to John Conjemi, who's done a good job last week and a pretty fair job this week, their number one man is Matt Dunnigan, and they need him to be 100%.
Stampeders are pretty close to that, though. Their 4th win, they have a tie in 5 starts.
Hi, I'm James Ellingson of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Next Tuesday night, it's the Lions and the Roughriders live from Taylorfield in Regina right here on CFN. Be there.
The Calgary Stampeders remain undefeated, 42-17 over the Toronto Argos, and in an explosive second quarter, the man who did much of the damage was Derek Crawford, catching the ball and returning punts and kickoffs. He caught 6 passes. He returned a punt, 71 yards for a touchdown, a couple of kickoff returns, a long one, set up another major by Brock Smith, and so add up the yardage, and you've got well over 200 yards in combined offense for number 83 tonight, Derek Crawford, really putting his stamp, if you'll excuse the pun, on his young CFL career. This had to be your most enjoyable game thus far in this league, Derek.
Yes, it is. You know, I always just waited, and the coach told me, you know, I have my time to get in, so whenever they put me in there, I just, you know, did what I had to do.
Now, normally you're the designated import because Kevan Jenkins didn't play tonight. Did you see more action than you would have otherwise?
I think I would have seen just about the same amount of action. I don't think that bothered at all what they had planned for me tonight.
Derek, you've been a San Francisco 49er and a Memphis Showboat, and you have been noted as a kick returner in those leagues with those teams and also as a pass receiver. Which do you like most?
Well, I like the kickoff return, but right now I can get out there and do anything I want. So right now I don't think it'd make much difference at all.
Well, the special teams are important for the Stampeders, and you've proved why with both punts and kickoffs, so congratulations on a great game.
All right, thank you.
Our Molson MVP, Derek Crawford of the Calgary Stampeders, who win it with 358 yards, and there you go. They don't get as many yards as the Argos, but they get a whole lot more points, and that's the way the Stampeders have been doing it this season.
You know, I think Commonwealth...
Games of the CFL tonight, Dean Dorsey missed a last-minute field goal from inside the 40-yard line that would have won it for the Ottawa Rough Riders. Instead, they remain in last place, and the Ticats move into a second-place Eastern tie with the Argos. Hamilton wins by a point. Here in Calgary, the Stampeders did it both ways, with offense and with defense. Joe Clausey picked off 2 passes in the end zone. The Stampeders hold the Argos to 17 points, score 42 themselves, and Calgary remains undefeated. Next Tuesday, it's Week 6, BC at Saskatchewan, and CFN has coverage of Calgary at Edmonton as well. 2 games for the price of 1, 9:30 Eastern Time from Taylor Field in Regina. Tonight's final score, again, the Stampeders 42 and the Argos 17. This is Dave Hodge for Neil Lumsden and everybody at CFN saying goodnight from Calgary.